Panama has affordable, good, modern health care. They have many major hospitals here, the largest being Punta Pacifica, which is in Panama City, and Punta Pacifica is affiliated with Johns Hopkins University. A good many of the doctors are American educated and they speak English. My experience with Punta Pacifica, they also have a medical offices there, and I went and visited with a cornea specialist. I had cornea transplants before I moved to Panama, and I wanted to find somebody I could go to quick if I had a problem. I found a cornea specialist that does cornea transplants in Panama. So anyway, I go to see her. I had my consultation along with a few tests. $50. I was so amazed that it was $50 I forgot to ask for my pension auto discount. Regular doctors, now I've been to small town doctors a few times. When we first got here, the first few months, I stuck my foot in my shoe and I got stung by a scorpion. And being new to Panama, I didn't know if this was a poisonous scorpion or not, so I put him in a jar and I went to the local doctor and sat down with him, and he explained not to worry. Office visit, $6. You know, I didn't use my pension auto discount. I had a cold one time, same thing, $6. My prescriptions were $14. Gave me a pill to dry me up and make me feel better, and another antibiotic. So healthcare here is great. Now, even though healthcare is cheap, the wife and I decided we needed to protect ourselves, and we do have a decent healthcare insurance policy. We pay about $200 a month for a good policy with a $250 deductible. Now you're asking, how can healthcare be so cheap? They don't have the big lawsuits down here like they do up in the United States. Doctors get to practice medicine. They don't have to, pay these big premiums on their insurance for that. So we've talked about the health care. Another thing that we liked about Panama was its climate. Being from South Texas, we lived in a hot, humid area, and believe it or not, the area we live in now is a little cooler than we lived at in Texas. We virtually live without air conditioning. We've got an air conditioner in our bedroom that we turn on occasionally, pretty much not because we're hot, but because of the noises at night. There are also parts of Panama up in the mountains where you can go and the temperature drops about 10 degrees. So you've got different choices in Panama of your climate. You can have the cool, spring-like all year long. You could have the warmer area like we are, which isn't real warm. Panama's also divided up into dry areas and wet areas. We chose a drier area of Panama. It doesn't rain here quite as much as the other areas. And while we're on the subject of rain, this is rainforest territory. It does rain in Panama. It rains a heck of a lot more than the United States, but we don't let it slow us down. Just because it's raining here doesn't mean it's going to be raining 2 miles up the road. Panama also has a wet season and a dry season. The wet season is called winter, which lasts for 8 months, and then the dry season is 4 months, and that's summertime here. Summertime is when most of the tourists hit the beaches and everything. But we found we enjoy the wet season. The rain really doesn't get in our way that much and creates beautiful, beautiful, lush landscaping. Speaking of weather, there are no hurricanes in Panama. No hurricanes, no major earthquakes, no major weather problems. As a firefighter in Corpus, I spent years, every year, worrying about is a hurricane going to come up in Corpus. I'd have to evacuate my family and I'd have to stay there to work in case a hurricane came through. There's no hurricanes in Panama. Proximity to the United States and to Canada. From Houston, it's a 4-hour flight to Panama. Miami area, 3.5, and you could be to the Northeast in 4.5 hours. It's not that far, guys. Prior to moving to Panama, I discussed with a lot of friends and acquaintances about moving to Panama, and of course they all thought I was nuts. And one of the questions was, how could you live so far away from your family? I can't believe you're leaving the country. And my remark to him was, well, you know, a lot of people retire to Florida. I says, would you think about retiring to Florida? And the guy goes, sure. You can be on a plane and be there in 4 hours. I said, well, guess what? You can be in Panama in 4 hours. So Panama's pretty darn close to the United States. Panama has a stable government. It wasn't always this way. I guess everybody knows the story. The United States had to come in the 80s and depose Noriega. He was not running the country very well. When they did get rid of Noriega, they did away with the military in Panama. Panama does not have a military. They have a small navy, and they use this navy to perhaps keep an eye on their coastline for drug running and things like that, just like the United States does. But there's no big military presence here. Now there are a lot of police officers, I will say that, but stable government, it's a democracy. There's open elections, there are fair elections, freedom of speech, and you know, it's a stable government. Another question my friends had asked me is about the safety in Panama. Do we feel safe in Panama? I got to be honest with you. I think I feel safer in Panama than I did in the United States. Of course, being a firefighter paramedic, I always saw the bad things happening, and bad things happen everywhere. But Panama, we live out here in the country, and it's just a bunch of country folks trying to live their lives. Not a whole lot goes on out in the country. Now, saying that, as an expat coming in and retiring, I might have more money in my budget than my next door neighbor. So I'm going to be careful with my stuff. I'm not going to flaunt my money. I'm going to keep my gate closed and keep my house locked up. But as far as safety, the wife and I feel very safe walking anywhere. Now, saying that, Panama City, just like any other big city, has bad areas. They have drug trafficking. They have bad stuff like that. We're certainly not going to get involved in that. We know better and stay out of those areas. But safety here, I give it an A+. Another surprising thing is shopping. Remember I discussed about the Panama Canal. It's the gateway to the world. All these goods are coming in, and you can buy them in Panama. We were pleasantly surprised on the huge, huge shopping malls. And we walked into a mall here in Panama. I've never seen the likes of it. It's 3 stories. It's so huge, I think it has 20 entrances. And what they do is they put an animal at each entrance so you know where you parked. And there are economical stores, and then there's the stores for the hoity-toities, you know, the fashion stores, big brand names. I can't think of any of them right now. Of course, the stores we shop at, my wife gets to buy $1.50 flip-flops and $6 blouses and things like that. Another thing to consider when moving to another country is the expat population. Well, Panama, the way has been paved for us with other expats. There's a lot of people from all over the world living in Panama, especially the United States and Canada. We have a network of friends that we hang out with and that we do things with that are American expats and Canadian expats. I had a romantic idea when I moved to Panama. I'd be hanging out with Panamanians and this, you know, how I was going to live. Well, to be quite honest, it is a lot easier to hang out with your American friends. You know, the language barrier is pretty strong. And I'm going to add to that real quick that we work real hard on our Spanish, and we feel pretty good about our Spanish. But Panama does have a diverse population of happy, friendly people. People are happy here. People are friendly here. You know the old joke when you're on an elevator and people get on, they just look towards the front. And in Panama, if you're on an elevator and somebody gets on, they're going to tell you good morning. They're going to say buenas. So we feel good about the people here. Also, that goes the other way by learning Spanish and smiling and not looking down on the people and treating them like an equal, that we get along pretty well with the people here. One of the big deals about Panama, adventure. We've had such a wonderful, great adventure, and I think you could have an adventure in a lot of other countries you'd go to, but Panama has so many things to do and places to go and things to see, and it's very exciting. And as a young man thinking about retirement, my gosh, I didn't know I'd be doing so many things as a retiree. They really don't cost me that much money. It doesn't cost me that much to drive 20 miles to a lake or a waterfall and just hang out. So we're having fun in Panama. Between our expat friends and the beautiful scenery and the beautiful things to do, we chose Panama, and I tell you what, we do it again. This is our new home. We don't think about going back. This is the place to be for us. Well, that's why we chose Panama. And hopefully you've watched the video and understood some of the things I've said and some of the reasons we've moved to Panama. But I want you to use this as a tool. Use this as a tool along with our website, our first year in Panama, that explains what we went through. Get a hold of every ebook, website, anything you can find on Panama and read it, and look at everybody's take on Panama, not just ours. Do be careful. Some are trying to sell you the idea of moving to Panama and everything's going to be perfect. You know, life is not perfect here. It wasn't perfect in the United States. But use this as a tool. And after you've done your research and you thought, oh, I might want to move to a certain area, get you a plane ticket and come to Panama and explore. Now, we've come across some people that want to retire to Panama, and they come down and they make reservations for a fancy resort for a week, and they never leave the resort. So my advice to you is arrange for your rent car and get you a map and explore Panama. And hopefully you'll find this the place to be, and you can come visit us as we go on our journey along the Gringo Trail. Thank you.